All right, you're good to go.
Okay, well, thank you. And we have a quorum. We have all 7 members present. So I would like at this time to call the October 19th, 2020 meeting of the Town of Kiowa Board of Zoning Appeals. For the general information, the town of Kiowa is holding all of their meetings via Zoom. These meetings are streamed to the town's YouTube channel, and members of the public who have any interest in this have the opportunity to make any comments about our meeting or things that they want to pass along to Petra Reynolds, our town clerk. I don't believe anyone did that, but at least I'd like that noted in the minutes. I will at this time introduce our board members who are here to have heard the case today. And I'd like each board member, when I read your name, to say present. Wendy Kulik.
Present.
Frank Cassidy.
Present.
Scott Parker.
Here. I'm sorry, present.
That's Jay Lewis.
Here, present.
Morris Hannon. We lose Morris Hannon. Oh, we lost. Oh, he was on before.
Yeah, he was on
Okay,
for
we'll
a
probably
second.
get him back. Ben Farabee.
Here.
Got your voice going good. We hear you fine. And Ron Hacker, myself, president, as chairman. We also have staff member John Taylor Jr. here to help with the presentation of the staff findings. And our attorney for the BZA, Joe Wilson, is here. Our case rulings for this and any other BZA meeting are available for public review and inspection during normal business hours at the town hall. Since our meeting is being conducted on Zoom, we please be reminded that in order to obtain a clear and concise record for the persons listening live, it is important that we all speak singly and not try to speak over each other. If you'd like to speak and there's no one speaking, that's fine, you can speak up. But if there are several people speaking, raise your hand and I'll call on the next person. At this time, I would like to really ask just Michael, if you're familiar with the procedural workings of the BZA. And I'm asking you this because I will read all the procedures. If you need it, if you're familiar with it, we'll just skip that and go right on into the meeting.
Yes, sir. I'm very familiar. I've been to several BZA meetings.
Okay, very good. Then we'll be ready to start. And because today's hearing is a public fact-finding meeting, we are in compliance with the Freedom of Information Act and South Carolina Code 62970. Because this is a quasi-judicial body, everything said in this meeting must be complete, true, and accurate. All of the information provided by the BZA is considered evidence, and the board may certify contempt of circuit court if false statements are made either in writing or orally. Because of this, each person who wishes to speak, address the board will be sworn in. And in order to expedite that, I'd like those wishing to speak, which I assume again is going to be Michael, to raise your hand, and Mr. Wilson, our lawyer, will recognize you and administer our oath. Joe?
Yep, I know you. So please raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
That having everyone sworn in, I will now call case BZA 20-000010 at 46 Salt Cedar Lane. Staff will present facts pertaining to the case. I shall then call the applicant or his representative to address the case. Applicant will then state name and address for the record and then present testimony. If there is anyone else speaking either in support or against the case, they shall then provide their name and address also, and then have 2 minutes to speak, and the participants or the applicant would then also have 2 minutes of rebuttal. At this time, I'd like John Taylor to present the staff findings. John?
Thank you, Mr. Hacker. And before I get started, just wanted to make sure in the record noted that Mr. Morris Hannon did join us.
Okay,
While you were
thank
calling
you.
roll.
He is present. Thank you.
Today's case number BZA 20-000010. This is a variance request for the reduction of the required 30-foot rear setback for approximately 15.5 square feet. The proposed plans include a rear deck modification and a pool addition. The subject property is 46 Salt Cedar Lane, TMS number 26506000040. This particular property is located within the R1 zoning district. Adjacent properties to the west are also in the R1 zoning district. Adjacent property to the east is located in the Parks and Rec zoning district, Parks and Recreation zoning district. This subject property is under the purview of the Architectural Review Board and sits adjacent to a lagoon or pond at the rear of the property. The town's ordinance does require that the rear setback is a 30-foot rear setback, and the maximum allowable lot coverage for this particular site is 33%. The existing structure covers approximately 35.8% and is not legally non-conforming in regards to setbacks and lot coverage. The ordinance does look at that setback as a required minimum distance from the rear or lot line. And so regarding this particular application, the applicant is proposing a reconfigure of that rear deck. And this is to include a new infinity edge pool that is proposed to be approximately 122.1 square feet of modifications, which would include the existing driveway as well. The proposed plans do reduce the amount of rear setback encroachment from that 122.1 square feet to approximately 15.5 square feet, and also increases the distance from the structure to the rear property line from currently about 25 feet to approximately 28 feet. And here are a few more images of the existing site. Here as we approach the rear of the property, there's an existing deck that sits over the setback and a low wall as well that protrudes there over the setback. It is adjacent to the pond as stated. Very well vegetated property to the east and west on the sides. Only views across as far as the residence is across the pond. So in regards to staff findings, I will highlight the criteria for you. Regarding the first criteria, that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions. Staff believes that there may be extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the property, and this is because of the 30-foot rear setback and the legal non-conforming status. In addition, the applicant has shared that the orientation or the placement of the home on the lot severely has limited available space, and due to its irregular shape, that adds an extraordinary condition to this lot. Regarding criteria B, these conditions do not generally apply to the property. Staff response is that conditions may be unique. As stated, it does sit within the R1 residential zoning with adjacency to the Parks and Recreational zoning district. And there may be similar setbacks just based on current setback standards. The applicant did share that the home is unique in that it has been constructed set back on the lot to the rear towards the pond. where most homes in the area are centered within the buildable area. Criteria C, the application of this ordinance to 46 Salt Cedar would prohibit the construction of a rear deck. Both the existing structure and the proposed modifications are located within that required 30-foot rear setback. And so the applicant has also stated that these existing conditions could result in the inability to add a usable pool, the space that takes advantage of the wonderful amenity of the lot. Criteria D, the authorization of the variance may not be of substantial detriment. There is an existing rear lot setback encroachment right now, and the proposed modification is reduced that amount of setback. And that's a reduction from approximately 122 square feet as stated, reducing that down to approximately 15.5 square feet. Additionally, the distance separated between the rear property line and actual structure is increased by approximately 3 feet. And overall, the lot coverage is significantly reduced from non-conforming to conforming, proposed at 32.9%. The applicant has also shared that the encroachment, only the neighbors across the pond would be affected by the granting of the variance, and that distance is greater than the typical rear yard setback between adjoining properties. Criteria E, the variance would not allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted. Pools are a use to this particular zoning district. Criteria F, profitability may not be considered. And then criteria G, the need for the variance may be a result of the applicant's own actions. It is an existing residence that's non-conforming, and it could be maintained without the need of a variance. However, per the applicant's letter of intent, there's been no work done by the current owner, and the structure as is originally constructed. However, well, additionally, the owner is actually wanting to remove some of the non-conformity parts of the structure that are most gregarious infringements on the rear yard setback. And the applicant has said that this will help offset the variance request in a more direct manner, regards to a greater buffer along the edge of the pond. Criteria H, this would not be contrary to the public or neighborhood interests. As stated before, this is under the purview of the Architectural Review Board. And on September 15th, the Architectural Review Board did grant approval for the variance request. And they stated, quote, the variance to add the portion of the pool's lower spillway over the rear setback as shown is approved, as this condition is less impactful than the existing non-conforming wall, stair, and deck proposed for removal. The pavement removals that allow the property to remain within the maximum lot coverage are also approved as shown. This variance is contingent upon installation of additional landscape at the rear to screen outdoor living from across the lagoon, end quote. The final criteria I, this relates to the comprehensive plan and the purposes of the ordinance. Staff response is that it does not substantially conflict with either of those two documents. And the proposed plans, as kind of shared before, does bring this particular lot into more of a conformed state. It's particularly with lot coverage. The applicant has also stated that this variance would not create a conflict with the plan or ordinance for the area. They're just trying to enhance the property for the good of the owner and the neighborhood, but are constrained by the fact that we are working with an irregular shaped property. Should you decide to approve this particular application, staff has outlined just one particular condition that you maybe should consider. Excuse the double one printed there, but prior to zoning approval, the applicant should present a landscape plan that would show additional buffering or landscaping at the rear of the property between the proposed structure modification and the rear property line. And that concludes my staff review, Mr. Hack.
Thank you very much. John, any questions for John?
Yes, John, this is Frank Cassidy. Just a curiosity question. This house was built in 2014. Typically, these these legally non-conforming requests that we get are for older facilities. My question was, why is this legally non-conforming? Did we change the setbacks and lot coverage between 2014 and now, or did they request a variance previously?
No, so this is non-conforming based on the fact that it was to an original, to the house that was built prior to this house in 2014, was built with the same encroachments. In 2014, by my research, I found out that that particular new structure was built because of a fire. And so based on the zoning ordinance, they're allowed to build back exactly or have the ability to encroach with that original home. So that way we have identified it as a non-conforming.
Thank you.
Any other questions for John?
I would just like to make a point of pedanticness here. I'm sure that this infringement is happy and social, but I think it's more egregious than it is gregarious.
More what, Scott?
More egregious rather than gregarious.
Duly noted, sir.
If there are any other questions for John? If not, then I would like to call on Michael Kermis to present his reasoning for this request.
Good afternoon. The current owner really doesn't have any use for the little bit of deck that's up there and the ground level terrace that's enclosed by the walls. It's pretty much useless space for them. And just looking to add a bit of a pool. And by taking away the more gregarious non-conformities, we're just looking to have, a infinity edge pool with the spillway, which is about 3 feet tall, which is lower than the existing walls that are 4 feet tall and much lower than the terrace walls that are 5.5 feet that all will be removed. And we're also reworking the driveway and the parking just so that we can get the house down and in conformance with the lot coverage as well as a part of the project.
Any questions for Michael? Looks like there are not. Is there anyone else wanting to speak either for or against Frank? Do you want to speak? No, he was just adjusting his computer.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, then I will close the information section of our meeting and open the floor for a motion and discussion. Wendy?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance, including the recommendation of presenting a landscaping plan with additional buffering to be installed.
I'll second that motion.
Who seconded?
Morris.
Morris,
Hanneman.
thank you, Morris. It's been moved and seconded to approve the variance. Is there any discussion? I think by the matter of silence, it just means it's time to call a vote. All those in favor of the motion, when I call their name, please answer by saying yay or nay. Wendy Kulik,
Yay.
Frank Cassidy,
Yay.
Scott Parker,
Yay.
Jay Lewis,
Yay.
Morris Hannon,
Yay.
Ben Farabee,
Yay.
Ron Hacker. I will vote yay too. It is a unanimous vote that we have passed this. And it looks to me as if we did that because it is non-conforming. They're reducing the illegal or the amount of setback, and they're also conforming now to the lot coverage. So it was a very good presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you all. And at this time, I'd like to ask John, is there any other business for the BZA?
So I just want to share just a couple of things, and Mr. Prickett, if you want to share just a few things as well. The notions, last month, Town Council moved forward with the sort of steps to adopt the new FEMA flood maps. I'm not sure if you have been in tune with that language or any conversations of what the new flood maps will look like. Those won't go into effect until January 29th, 21. And so I just wanted to put that on your radar, that that's something that is done as far as the town and our community services, building and zoning. There's a lot of conversation now going on. We're having with design teams of how that change has impacted design. I'll share just a few comments on just broadly on that. But those maps have been sort of depressed, or there are areas on the island that will be actually lower flood elevations, which is a little bit weird to think just based on what we've seen historically over the last several years, that those maps will be lowered. But that process has begun. And so January 29th, we'll see that those new flood maps to go into place. The second point I wanted to highlight is, I won't call any names, but just ensure I'll be reaching with you before the end of this month to make sure that we get all of your CE credits certified before the end of the year. So if you know you haven't completed your 3 hours, just make sure that you reach out to myself or Petra so that we get you certified before the end of the year. As typically around this time, it comes down really fast as we approach the month of November. The other things, as you may be aware, Parcel 13, staff has resumed sort of conversations with the adjacent portion of Parcel 13 next to Timbers Resorts. So we will anticipate submittal of that particular project formally, construction documents sometime in the first quarter. We're re-engaged with their design team, having monthly meetings to just kind of work through permitting procedures and coordination efforts between all of the entities. And so just if you hear more buzz around that particular project, just know that that's coming through the pipeline sort of officially, that's picked up gears significantly. The other portion of that, I'll let Mr. Prickett talk about as it relates to Lot 1 for Parcel 13. The other updates that I have are fairly minor, just in terms of, I think the parkway, as you may be aware, that second phase towards landscaping will begin soon, if not yesterday or this week rather, to begin now to sort of that beautification process of the parkway. Any questions or thoughts about? We don't right now have a scheduled meeting as far as an agenda item for the November meeting. I will be reaching back with Petra to make sure that we get you any notifications if we get something at the end of this week, which is our deadline. But other than that, that's all of my comments.
Anyone else? Any comments?
Ron,
Ron?
yeah, let me pick up, if I may, where John left off. Couple of things. One is Parcel 13, the back of it, the section away from the ocean. The partners, the Kiowa Resort Associates, have been in conversations with us, with the council, relative to a another amendment to the development agreement that would permit them, as they develop that potential parcel, the back of it. So this is the property that sits behind what East West is doing and behind the Timbers development. They have asked that they be allowed to put more than 7 units per building in their development plan, and in order to decrease the number of buildings and allow for more open space. That's similar to what was requested by East West for their portion of it. It results probably in a better development that way. So that's going to be considered and be presented probably before the end of this year to town council. In doing that, they will reduce the total number of units that are available to them, as well as reduce in several of the buildings that sit closest to, let's call it the already developed part. You know where the, all of you, if you know Duneside, where the community pool is, they're going to reduce the building height from 4 stories to 3 stories in that section. So they're offering some, let's call it incentives for us to consider this increase in density per building. Anyway, that's been an informal conversation that's going on. So that'll happen probably between now and year end. The other thing I want to mention to you is, importantly, December 1st, we have a town election. All of the elected positions are open. Therefore, there'll be an election for mayor as well as 4 members of council. I think all of you are aware of this, but it's important. I'm getting some feedback from someone. It's important that you recognize 2 of the council members will be elected for a 2-year term, 2 council members for a 4-year term, and the mayor for a 4-year term. The reason for this is to get council on a staggered basis so that we don't every 2 years have a complete turnover of all members. To us, that makes great sense in adding to the stability of the town going forward, so that in subsequent elections, you'll be electing 2 of the 5 people and the following one, 3 of the 5 people. So that's what's going on. 2 of those elections are contested. Mr. Parker and John Moffat, who are running for the 4-year terms, will have an uncontested election. Everybody else is in a contested election. So I invite you to please get educated about the candidates and please vote on December 1st. Kika, as they typically have done, are going to do most likely a candidates night, but this one will probably be via Zoom or some electronic means. And it's currently tentatively scheduled for 6 p.m. on Thursday, the 12th of November. So put that on your calendars and look for more information from Kika on that. Thank you,
It's
Ron.
been nice for them to have reached out.
Pardon me?
Yeah,
Yes, Wendy?
I just want to say, since right now we don't have anything on the agenda for our November meeting, then this means that this will be Scott's last meeting since he's running uncontested. So I just want to wish him luck.
his wife said she would vote for it.
How much did he have to pay for that?
Over the last 45 years, quite a lot.
Well, thank you, Dan. If there's no other comments, welcome motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjourning, aye?
Aye.
Aye.